pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. John, pray for us.
Everybody join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we're here starting a new year. Please bless the people in this room, bless the people on this board, bless this whole county. Let's try to make it a good year, and we need your help definitely, Lord. We need your help to put our heads on straight and do a good job for the county and spend the money the best we can. Thank you so much, Lord, for everything you do for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, John. All right, let's call tonight's January 9th, 2024 meeting to order here. First thing on the agenda is taking care of some business and reorganizing the board. We need to select our president, vice president, and I believe it's secretary.
I nominate Greg Prince as president.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you for that. I guess all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you guys for another year. Nomination for vice president of this board.
I nominate Brad Stout.
Brad Stotts, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks Brad for another year of taking that on for us.
Yes, Mr. President.
And misery loves company sometime. So we need to select our secretary for this board.
I knew that was coming.
Well, I'm going to second that
also.
also.
I know.
So I'm going to second Jill. All in favor? Secretary?
Aye.
Aye. So that's unanimous. So thanks everybody. We're squared away and we'll get started. And I know we have Josh and DC Development. Would you guys mind if we kind of alternated you guys with Scott County School District 1 and Joe and the guys here? Do you mind if you went second?
I'll do it.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Guys, come on up.
Thank you.
Dave, you're just going to stay in the audience, or you want?
No way.
You might as well come on up. Even with that Kentucky shirt, you can come on up. It's all good.
Hey, I keep hearing you make fun of those shirts. We're gonna have to shut that off.
Should have took Georgia back in school. Yeah, and you could have for sure. What we got, guys?
Well, first of all, I think I know most of you, but those of you I haven't met, I'm Trevor Jones, the superintendent at Scott County School District 1 in Austin, of course. I've already been there 6 years now this month.
Man, that's crazy, isn't it?
It's gone really fast. I appreciate you putting us on the agenda and allowing us to come and talk to you. Have a proposal, an idea that I think would be a good project, a good joint project for this board and our school board that will be good benefit to our students, a benefit to our town and to our community and the county. As you know, we've made a lot of changes to our campus in the last 6 years. And two things we wanted to accomplish when we were working on all these projects is, first of all, to make sure we stayed in good financial shape. And second, that we didn't overburden our taxpayers. And of course, passing a referendum helped us to do that. But we've still stayed within a nickel of our original tax rate for our school district. So we've been able to stay tax neutral and do $23 million worth of improvements to our facilities. And a lot of that is because our boards have always been very conservative with their money and very conservative with our projects, but we got way behind on things that we needed to accomplish. So we made a list when I first was hired of what we really needed to do, and it was a very long list. First of all, the old elementary we had, those of you that went there, it still looked the same when we were there. It had to be done. So anyway, to make a long story short, there's some other projects that we were not able to get to because just financial reasons. And we thought maybe we would give a presentation, not a formal one, but just come to this board. There's three things really that we're not able to do with the outside part of our facilities. And I made a list of things we have done, just to give you an idea that you want to pass around. That's what $23 million that we've spent. But we have a softball field that our girls play on. It's kind of an embarrassment. It's not even regulation size. And we just built new tennis courts last year, and we put them in a back lot. And we would like for those tennis courts to be just for our school teams and keep them in good shape. Now, our plan is to redo our old tennis courts that can be used for our PE and for our community. So what we're looking at is upgrade of our tennis courts, and we would like to redo our girls softball field. Our girls softball field is on a little league field. And as I said, we can't host tournaments, we can't host sectionals because the field's not regulation size. So what we are looking to do, long story short, is about a $300,000 project. And I'm coming to this board to ask for around $200,000, and our board pitch in the rest of the money to upgrade at least 3 courts of our tennis courts to look brand new. We'd like to do all 5, but we're looking at to do at least 3 because we're not sure exactly what the cost will be for the full 5. And to redo our softball field. And redoing our softball field is going to be new fencing. We have the bricks to do the brick like our baseball field, if any of you have been at our baseball field, and a net, and to move the lights that are there, because those light poles will have to be moved to extend our softball field because we can't move it back because we have a parking lot at the school, the high school. So we're looking at also laser grading our baseball field. Our baseball field's very nice, but it needs to be laser graded to be updated. And one thing that's really nice is that our baseball field is really nice, and we've been able to host sectionals. And when we host sectionals, that brings in a lot of schools to our county, to our community, and it gives us a lot of good exposure. And our girls softball field, we can't even apply to do that. And in our new sectional alignment, we are the center school. So because it goes from Brownstown to South Ripley, Versailles, and Austin's kind of the middle. So I think we can host a lot of our sectionals if we have enough tennis courts and we have baseball and softball field that meet the requirements to host a sectional. So
The 200,000 is for tennis courts and softball field, right?
Yes.
The 2 things there.
yes, that's
You guys will come up with 100,000 more than
Yes.
approximately what you need to finish.
yes. Or if I say 100,000, but we have the money to finish it. Like I say, I want to make sure that we keep a good amount of cash reserves. We don't want to ever have any financial issues, and we're in good shape. But I don't want to go out and spend 500,000 or 300,000 on. And I don't want to put that on our taxpayers. I want our tax rate to stay about the same as it's always going to be. So
And this is stuff you've already done.
that's stuff we've already done. Just to give you an idea, we've spent $23 million, and we're very proud that we've stayed tax neutral and been able to do these projects.
23 million over 12 months or?
Well, the
36
23
months,
million is part of that, of course, is the referendum. Even that gave us the opportunity to borrow $20 million. And with the referendum is that even the tax abatements and the board, the TIF board, that they are not able to capture those funds. That's why we had to do a referendum to borrow that amount of money to build a new elementary school. But we also were able to build a new school and do these projects.
I guess, let me re-ask that question. So over a period of what time did you spend the 20?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's since 2021.
Okay, so in the last 4 years,
Yes.
That's impressive, all the
Well,
stuff.
I have to think about this fence and the light poles, because I remember being at South Central years ago in center field. I think there was a utility pole, that was inside of play.
I remember
Yeah, you probably hit it over the pole back then.
I think I did.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah. But for everybody else, we had to lucky to hit it off the pole.
So
But
can I ask another question? So these are the two fields he's talking about doing, right? So that's,
primarily this one. I think
the baseball field doesn't need much work.
Yeah, baseball's
Yes.
in the back.
the big one, the baseball's the big one, right? So the
Yeah, that's
small would
correct.
be softball?
Yeah.
And that's not even close to
It
the right
doesn't
size?
meet regulation of a IHSAA softball.
And that keeps you from hosting any games or
No,
just?
no. We still play our games there, but we
Okay.
can't host. We really can't have tournaments, and we can't host sectionals because.
Okay.
Let me say this, I built that softball field for a Little League field, and that was, I
That-
don't even know.
that was
been
my last year
converted
Little
into
League.
a
I was
softball.
umpiring.
Yes.
Yeah,
These
you were.
guys
I remember
umpired
that.
late, so that was 70.
Leland
maybe.
Eldridge and some of you
think
guys
so.
back in the day.
Something like
Yeah,
So do you guys have that land behind that small field and you'll be able to use whatever you need to?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not really about purchasing real estate, it's
No.
just about.
No. We own the land. Yeah.
All of it back there.
Yeah.
Our new
I'm
tennis,
from-
the
I'm
map,
from
it's not on the
there.
map, but the new tennis courts are back here, and then there's a new entrance.
All right,
off.
over
No,
here.
and see, I saw these are the tennis courts I'm looking at right now.
Those are the current ones, or those are the ones that would be rehabbed that are our old.
So
tennis
will you
courts.
keep those and just fix them up for practice or whatever, but then make nicer ones somewhere else on here?
Yeah, it's not on the map, but there's a
The nicer ones
there's
are
an
already
entrance here,
Uh-huh.
a new parking lot, and then the nice ones are completed. They're
Oh, okay.
at the back of the baseball.
Okay, that's good.
Give me a minute. I'll find you the
It was more
overhead shot.
economical to build the new ones at a different locale instead of remodeling them.
This is
It takes too long
256 right here,
to play the season.
and there's our new court, and there is the baseball field. So
Okay,
you
all
see
right.
that.
That's a
Yeah,
current,
plans to
that's a
pay
current
that.
picture, right?
Yes. Well, in fact, our tennis team in the spring used those new courts.
Oh, they're nice,
Now,
yeah, see.
Yeah, I've been back there.
Have you?
Yeah.
now, Austin does not have. Well, they have the old courts would be for the community, but if we can redo these courts, we will make sure that they're available every evening for the community that we don't, or that our tennis teams aren't using.
You talking about the 5 courts on the other side of the building? For
Yes.
the community, right?
Yes.
And these
With-
will just be for the high school
That'll just be
use?
for the high school, because technically what we built this easement here and this turn-in is not really, it's really for just our school functions, because there's also an access road that goes in behind the
There's
high
probably
school now.
liability issues if you let the public in for
Yeah,
whatever
and the
reason.
community's not supposed to use this access road.
Gotcha.
But they have been, so we're gonna need to gate that off. So,
Okay.
Jill asked about plans to pave.
You're gonna gate off the 256 section? Really?
yeah, until we can pave it, and who knows when we can pave it. Yeah, our permit it was not planned for that to be a pedestrian roadway. It's being used as kind of one now, but it's already getting big potholes in it. You know, our idea when we built the access road back here was for emergencies.
So are we remodeling this is what you're basically doing?
The old courts were remodeled. What they have to do is they're gonna have to put new pavement on they're gonna have to grind
Well,
up
that's
those
the thing I
pavement.
was looking at. Well, I know we've ran into the situation on if they remodel something, they can't use the money, but if we tear it apart and move it 10 feet over and completely redo it and build new, then we can do things.
Yeah.
There's a fine line in there. It's a gray area we need to check on, I think, because we ran into that on the golf course out there.
Yeah. Which,
State board of accounts.
I would think we'd have to dig those up.
Well,
To
I think
rebuild.
that's what we'll have to specify is you will have to start new and
Okay.
rebuild them rather than remodel. How it's wording is a lot of it. And like I said, we gotta check into that is what we
Yeah.
need.
So
Am I right, Greg? I mean, I'm not.
yeah, it's redevelopment's a little tricky with funding. Quite honestly, there has been one case, the state of Indiana, where State Board of Accounts sued a city for utilizing funds for parks and such. It's very rarely done, right? I mean, so when you start trying to go about the quality of life and those arguments, it really gets in the weeds and it gets muddy, and so there's not a lot of court cases that you can point back to. There's always that one. So there's always the potential for the State Board of Accounts to obviously come back on us. That's why we just run it through legal, talk to our attorneys to make sure we're doing the right things with the funding.
Neither one of us want a headache. I understand that.
Right.
Yeah,
And so we just need to make sure we're doing the right things on our end.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
But
and so that's the other thing too. What's the difference between, the schools versus, private business? I don't know. I mean, those are things I need to talk to our legal folks
Well, I
about.
move we lay it on the table till the next meeting to get a chance to research it.
No, I mean, I didn't expect an answer tonight, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And sort of kind of
Sure.
some of our business practices that we took from 24 was a lot of things that come in. It gives us a chance to table it and then talk about it. Also gives us a chance to look out and talk to resources about, what the best way that we're spending the money with too. So I guess what we would be
Qualifies too, right?
Yeah,
for
so
investment.
what we would be doing tonight is just tabling and not saying yes or no, but just, saying, yeah, give us a chance to look at it and then we'll invite you back and hopefully have an answer for you.
Yeah, if you have any questions, just contact my office. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. It was an idea, whatever I can do to benefit Austin and benefit our school district, that's what I try to do.
Would you be bidding this out, or do you have a local contractor you're
I have to
looking
bid it
at, or
out,
what?
by law, we'll have to bid it out. I have talked to the company that built our tennis courts, and they gave me, that's how I have an idea of the price. I'd already bid moving those poles several years ago. I'll have to rebid those. We'll also, when we move the poles, we'll also add LED lights to them, so.
Yeah, and I know the old Little League field, we was talking about that earlier, I remember years ago, I can still see you driving by in the old station wagon past there, back past the ball field, but that was a nice element when we got it built because, we went from inside the track down to the park, back to the park. I think I played a couple games on that field back then, but it was always considered a Little League field, and then
It was until girls softball started.
yeah, and so
Yeah, I only played on the field in the middle of the track.
yeah, with the picket, the little red picket fence.
I made that too, yeah.
So just real quick, because I made some notes, but the ask again is for $200K, and I put 3 courts and 2 softball.
At least 3 courts. Hopefully I can redo all 5.
Okay, and we're redoing the ones that are not for the school, for the public use.
Yeah, well, the school will use them as well, but we will make sure these are available to the public.
And there won't be any problem with the public coming
No.
to them. And then you have 1 current softball, 1 baseball.
That's correct.
So we're just are you wanting to work both fields?
I have a small the baseball field would be last if I don't have the money, okay? Because it's in good shape. I just wanted to throw out, if we have the money, we want to do a new laser grade on the infield of the baseball field.
Okay.
It needs to be done, but that would be last. The
Okay.
main thing is the upgrade of the softball field, because that's kind of an embarrassment for us where our kids play on that field. And we're going to do this. We're going to do these projects anyway. Okay. But they may be stretched out over 5 years.
Right. And anything that brings in potential revenue of tournaments and stuff is a positive thing for the county and for
Yes.
Austin.
We hosted
obviously.
a baseball sectional 2 years ago. We had really big crowds.
Can you use the baseball field for softball? Yeah, I'm asking a dumb question.
Not really.
Okay, good.
Baseball, the bases are 90 feet, and softball they're 60.
Yeah.
Just give you an idea. The pitcher's
Too
mound's
big.
much closer.
I played baseball. And that's
Austin didn't have a softball team when we were in high school.
Right. Yeah.
And the tennis sectionals being hosted there are stopped right now because of what? Just not enough courts?
We need more courts. And we've had a really good tennis program. Tennis is big. Also, we've won a lot of sectionals, boys and girls.
Congratulations on that.
So but you firmly feel with the upgrades, both with the softball field and the tennis courts, that does put you very viable for sectional play then?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it also kind of completes the upgrades on our sports facilities that we started 5 years ago.
Okay.
We've moved, you can see, we've moved our soccer field, we've redone our track, we've built the new tennis courts that we need. The other 5 courts would be a luxury for our high school teams. That's 10 courts, and we could host sectional. But as I said, our tennis courts have always been community courts because it's the only tennis courts in our town, and we would like to continue to offer that for the community. But they need upgrades because they look bad and they're falling apart.
Just curious, with the courts that could potentially be public courts then, with the lighting, the lights would remain on of the evening for the public to play, or?
And usually anymore, it doesn't get dark when they're playing.
Well, that's true. It doesn't.
Pretty late. We don't
about
use our
9 o'clock,
lights.
right? It's still.
We don't use our lights very often.
Okay.
But you have to have no section. You have to have lights on your baseball field and your softball field, and we have that.
I don't, you got anything else, Brad?
No, sir.
No, Josh?
Ask all the questions.
And I appreciate it. And as I said, if it can work, that'd be great to work with this board. And if not, that's fine too. I understand it.
Yeah, we like I say, just give us a couple weeks and give
Sure.
us an opportunity to run through the channels and make sure that everything is upgrade with how we're looking to spend these funds. So.
You guys need
We have to
anything
have
at
the
all,
secretary
you call
check it
him.
out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Anything at all, he'll answer your questions.
When you're here, you get to delegate, right? So, that's right.
yeah. We'll call you.
Oh, yeah.
I told him, I said, I don't know if this board's all Kentucky fans, Dave. I don't know if that's going to help us.
Well, I don't know, but I'm an Indiana fan. So,
I
Don't
hate
hold
to
it
say,
against us.
I had 2 kids go to IU, but I still let them come home for Christmas.
see, there is some love.
There is a lot of love there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
All right.
we appreciate
Any
you
questions,
guys.
let me know.
Okay, we'll give you a call. All right, I know how to get a hold of all 3 of you.
Good seeing you.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Good job.
You didn't heard that played.
Thank you very much. I did.
Meeting you, sir.
I did. You know what that's probably from? It's probably from not using my left hand enough when I was
Yeah,
younger.
you should have showed his left.
See, buddy?
Oh, yeah. I need that right there after the week I've had with this weather.
Oh, I guarantee it, yeah. Hang in there. Thanks.
See you, Jill.
Bye.
I walked and talked with her, and then we did that electric board circuits thing in my classroom and her classroom. Then I did the weather thing, which is good for now, but I really enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah. It's
Taking
good.
them all to
Exactly.
at the fairs and everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
See you, baby.
I'll call you.
Oh, I'll wear that for you.
Yeah, you can fit in.
See you. All right, next we've got Josh Hill. I'm
We
sorry.
got a motion on the floor.
I'm sorry.
We have a
I'll
motion on the
second
floor.
to table.
Yeah.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. To
Motion
table
to-
to table schools.
I'll
Yeah.
second
the
to table.
request.
Okay. Yeah. All in favor of that.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
Sorry.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Now proceed.
Now we'll move
Now
forward.
you go on.
All right. We got Josh and Scott with DC Development. Guys, how's it going tonight?
Great, we're good. Got a little packet of info here for everybody. We'll walk you through this. Should be painless.
Thank you.
Yep. I think you all recall we were here in October.
Last day or 2 of October, I think.
Yep.
Very end.
And you executed a professional services agreement with our firm, DC Develop. What I want to share with you today is progress to date with all the work that has transpired since that time. So what you'll see here in a moment is a schedule that really starts in November and working our way forward. But right on the top is a real quick and dirty progress report of the work that has been completed and work that is yet to start. We have completed title search, completed ALTA survey, completed wetlands and stream report, completed geotechnical work on the site, verified utilities, looked at floodplain. We'll soon be moving into some other aspects, and I'll cover that here as well, with regard to some specific site planning for the property, as well as once we have an idea of what the site will look like, how we'll fund it, where will we seek dollars, how much dollars that we'll actually need to develop the site. And then one thing that's really important here is what I've labeled as responses to RFIs. We get regular inquiries through the state economic development agency, as well as One Southern Indiana, with regard to industry that is looking to build new facilities or relocate throughout Indiana. So we're kind of on their radar. So they'll send us information and say, hey, do you have sites that meet these criteria? And we were just talking the other day, I think we've probably got a list of 20 or so that we've responded to here in the last 6 months. In the last 2 months specifically, we've been able to identify projects that might be ideally suited for this particular property. Now, what we don't know is after we respond where that goes. It goes kind of somewhat into a black hole, if you will. And then we hope that at some point it comes back around and they say, hey, we got your base information. We'd like to know more about the property. We'd like to know, more about the community in general, and what's the status. And as they move forward with their site selection criteria, if we're still on the list, then we've got the opportunity to begin selling Austin, selling Scott County, and selling this particular property to them as a potential site or location for a new business development. So that's exciting, honestly. We've got other properties, as you know, in Scott County that are a little bit further along in terms of their readiness for development. And so we're constantly giving them information about really all of these properties now that we're have an interest in, to put Scott County kind of at the front of the list if we can get there.
Yeah.
Let me
Okay.
just chime
Sure.
in. I mean,
Yeah.
because this
Yeah.
this commission and board was looking at purchasing or doing something with Scott County School 2 several months ago. So our development team of partners did end up buying at the very end of December. They bought the Scott County School 2 property on Boatman Road, just because that was a point of discussion here. So I just want to make sure we haven't started putting that piece of property into any RFI responses. We're doing all the same that we're doing here on that piece of property now. But I just
Is that public record?
yeah, it
It's
was,
now closed.
the school board approved it at a school board meeting about a week before Christmas.
Just curious, you know what it sold for?
It sold for somewhere around 1.7 million.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, we closed a couple days after Christmas on it.
All right, I have a quick question about these responses to RFIs.
Yeah,
You
sure.
probably get a bunch of different unique.
We do.
When you respond to those, I'm just curious, do you have a set package that you say, great, here we are, here's what we have to offer? Or do you tailor it to what they're asking, or to make it more?
It depends on the
palatable?
request. Sometimes
Okay.
the request is very specific. They'll give us a list of, kind of a checklist
Shovel
to
ready
follow.
10 yards to I-65. Do you
Yes.
have that? And-
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll just simply say, what do you have in general? Just a
Okay.
big broad
Stroke, yeah.
And so we'll load them up with everything that we've got. Other times they'll say, we need to know this, 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 and this, and that's all we want to know right now. And then we'll send them that. So sometimes we get, like most recently, we had one that was very specific about the load for electrical service. That
Okay.
could they handle X amount of kilowatts for this facility. So we went searching, verifying exactly what they were asking for in that regard. So it kind of depends on the request.
And not to go down a rabbit hole, but is
Yeah.
there anything that makes us unique with those properties that we might have an advantage over someone else in the state?
I'm sure. Immediate access to the interstate. Both
Okay.
Scottsburg and Austin have that capability, as well as what I believe is generally a lower cost of living.
So there's an
in this
economic
area.
incentive
Yeah.
there, hopefully.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's also a value in the water. I think there's a large water main
Utilities.
that runs by there, and I believe, I'll have to confirm, but I believe gas. I think you have both of those items readily available at that site.
Yeah.
And those are things that, just as he said, certain are asking for electric capacity, certain are asking for water capacity and wastewater capacity, or that you're on a larger state road or close proximity to a highway. Now, some of the more, and I think in the next coming months, things we want to talk about, some of them say, all right, do you have an existing building? And that's one of the items that becomes what we're being told, it kind of gets your foot in the door, is having an existing building. Do you have a spec building? Do you have a shell building that could be kind of a base, even if it's not the full size, but something that is a starting point, and then you can expand. So over the next couple of months, I think we're going to want to explore that, talk about budgets, talk about what maybe a 3-year interest-only finance does to help get that, so that you could be one of the first kind of, it puts you a leg up on other opportunities. So over the next few months, we're going to bring some of those ideas and opportunities to you, but give you the detail to make those decisions.
And so as I've traveled in around Kentucky and Indiana, and I'll be down in Kentucky, I'll see these big giant buildings up
Yeah.
for lease or looking for something. It's like build it and they will come type mentality.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that in Whiteland all
Yep.
the way up to Green.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah.
Some of these users are asking for land that, upon which they intend to build, and others are asking for already constructed buildings that they can move
Because
into readily.
Part of the risk is if we build a building, we'd have to be pretty generic or try to figure out where
Yeah.
we can be in the middle of what the demand or need is.
Right.
Because somebody might need something really specific.
It's like planning, you put in a piece, but know that you can expand or grow when needed. So you may go and put in your first 50 or 60,000 square feet with the ability to get to 150 or the ability to go to 400, something bigger.
But for example, if we don't put like an underground metal recapturing scrap, conveyor belt system like a lot of stamping plants have,
Sure.
then we're out.
Yeah, so a lot of
Possible.
these buildings, when they
Yeah.
do the speculative building, they won't actually pour the slab inside the building.
Okay.
They'll leave a gravel base in there, and they'll plumb
Okay.
it. They plumb it for,
So we'll
your
say we've
general
got the
plumb.
square footage.
And so that way you're also not spending money if you're doing something like that. You're leaving that slab so that it can be said if somebody has a large foundation for a manufacturing item, or if they rig it for their warehousing system, it gives you some of those
Or their air
flexibilities.
compressor system needs that are always under
Yep.
concrete, but anyway. I'm-
With that in place, it allows us to answer the question, do you have a building? Yes, we do.
Yes.
And honestly,
Right? And that puts us on the list.
that
Right?
puts you
That puts us on the
a
list.
step higher than everywhere else.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to prep that over the next couple of months,
Yeah.
we're going to try to bring you all some information to say, is this something you want to consider?
Okay, right.
Non-committal, it's just, here's something else that may make us more likely to get selected or considered.
Sure.
Yeah, and I know you guys mentioned working with One Southern Indiana. As you know, the county works with One Southern Indiana too, and they constantly, show us a number of businesses that are looking to come into the area, but we've never gotten to this point
Right.
where we've actually done something with the property to be able to show its capabilities. I mean, right now, we're starting to get in that area now where we can market this. And all the years before, it was like, well, we've got, company X, or, they're looking down here, they'd like to put something like this, but we didn't have any capabilities at that point to do anything with. So I think I like the idea of continuing to explore some ideas on putting something out there, but.
So I interrupted you midstream there.
No, that's quite all right. If you want to just turn the page, you'll see kind of a project schedule. This was one of our deliverables in our professional services agreement to give you an idea of, hey, where are we headed? Those items that are completed are there kind of in the November, December timeframe, the title search, the wetlands, the geotechnical, and so on. We now find ourselves, hey, it's January, it's 2025. So we're moving kind of to the next phase of this project where we're looking at, the zoning that's necessary to facilitate larger scale industrial projects. And if there are changes or modifications to local zoning to help us better situate or facilitate this property for development, then we can engage the appropriate folks along the way to help make that happen. But we're also now moving into conceptual site planning. What can we do with the property now that we know more about it? We know, we can flip the page, we know what the property looks like. We've got about 175 acres or so. We know its shape, we know how we're going to access it through Just Industrial Parkway. What's really interesting on the next page is the wetland and stream study that was done. I've given you just the map of that study, and it will kind of make your eyes cross with all the information that's there. But what we needed to do was zero in on what are the usable areas of the property here. And so in the little table down to the lower left corner, you'll see a status, jurisdictional versus non-jurisdictional features. So the jurisdictional features are features that the government regulates, meaning if we touch them, we generally have to pay something to do that. The non-jurisdictional features are features that we can impact without any ramifications to it.
You're talking about mitigation.
Mitigation,
Right.
That's correct. So what we've done then is we've taken that map, flipped the page, maybe a couple pages back, and you'll see the site, which is a little bit cleaner. It's this page here. And we've left the jurisdictional features on this map. So that what you see are either wetlands or streams, and there's actually also a green line on there which doesn't really show up very well. That's the floodplain line. And so we're now working around those features that we don't want to touch if we don't have to, because there's a dollar figure that goes with touching them.
I'll show you.
And so what we did then was, as just a hypothetical, you can see a little bit of a site plan there that shows a building and some parking.
That's the flood.
You can see a blow up of that on the last page. And this is what Josh was referring to in our discussion a few minutes ago about perhaps a speculative building here might be a step that the county wants to take, in that particular site there that we showed will hold a 150,000 square foot building. But we don't need to start with 150,000 square feet. Maybe we start with a smaller footprint, maybe 50,000 square feet that could be expanded in the future. This is just purely speculative and hypothetical. We wanted to see what would fit in that little space, and that little space is between two streams, a stream and a wetland actually. And so we tried to avoid touching either one of them by sliding all that in there between. But that's our challenge for the rest of the property as we go forward, is how do we use the next little piece, and how do we subdivide or divide the larger tract in the lower right corner? What does that look like? Is that one large multi-acre tract, or do we extend Just Industrial Parkway into that area and begin to think about smaller lots that might be 5 or 10 or 15 acres apiece that could hold larger buildings should those users be interested in the community and in the property. So that's kind of where we're headed next, is to kind of explore some what-if scenarios. And there may be multiple that we look at. And once we kind of narrow that down, then we'll be able to start to put some dollars to those different scenarios, and working with you to identify, hey, what's that really going to look like? And then identify how would we pay for it if we did that. Okay, so that's kind of where we're headed with regard to the next several months ahead. One piece that I neglected to share was there's 2 pages in here from the geotechnical study. We went out and punched some holes in the ground to see what's underneath. There's good news.
Good. That was my next question. John.
Good news, rock is more than deep enough that we should not encounter it with utilities or other excavation that might be needed for the project. There's a couple spots where it is shallower, but they're on the far eastern edge of the property, which I don't think will come into play. So the good news is rock's plenty deep. And that's important to know as we go in, because we'll have utility extensions and other excavations that will get underground, and we want to make sure that we don't hit rock, because it's costly when we do.
The other good news is that the main classification they're showing here is a clay or a lean clay, and less of a fat clay, and that lean clay becomes that good soil. It's the farmable soil. It's, well-drained soil that is very good for doing large industrial construction. One of the first things that a contractor is going to look at is a clay material, and a lean clay at that.
So on the borings, you felt pretty confident that even though what we done up front would match the back of that. Okay. Okay, that's great news. That was my next thing, Scott. On our deliverables, was there kind of any red flags, especially with geotech, that had me concerned there? So that's good news.
So all the red dots, the borings, those are ones where they actually drilled, took a sample, retrieved the sample. The green ones where they were poking in the ground, just counting the number of blows it took to get through for that purpose, and then checking to make sure we didn't hit refusal anywhere.
Just for comparison, in the example you gave us, does anyone on this board, or do you know how many square feet Tri-Hawk is?
I could get you that number, I believe.
I'm
I
just
think I could pull
curious
it.
what
I
kind
don't
of
know.
example,
Yeah.
I
I'm
would
sure.
guess, just looking at that, if you take, I'm gonna guess it's about 500,000 square feet. Just comparing the 150,000 square foot footprint.
Yeah.
I'd say you're around 500,000 square
Okay.
feet. And it looks to me like you're set up for the ability in the big piece here, the bigger chunk, that you could go bigger than 500 to a 600, 650. And just in the last month or two, there was one of the site selectors was looking for something very specific, but maybe it was an existing building. That 600,000, it's a build to suit that's out there right now. Right now there's a project where they're looking for a build to suit team at 600 to 640,000 square feet. So that would probably fit near that.
Let me ask you guys this. How would this be in competition with the school property that you guys acquired? I mean, how?
I don't think so. I think you end up with two very different pieces of property. The school property is about a third floodplain, but we haven't seen anything wetland on it yet, and I'm certain there's wetlands in there. There's pieces that are inaccessible, just very different. I think this one has the ability to be a heavy industrial because of where it's at. And the Boatman Road property is more likely light industrial distribution, where this is more likely manufacturing. So I think they're differentiators in that perspective, and this ends up being likely a more, you're going to get a niche here that's going to have a higher assessed value because it's going to be manufacturing and not distribution. That's just my personal
Closer
opinion.
to the highway also, it feels like.
This is about 1.5 miles
Oh, it is?
up to the
Interstate.
interchange
Oh, there
there.
might not be.
The other is about
It's
2
2 miles,
mile,
isn't
a little, maybe just a hair over 1 mile,
Okay.
at the Boatman Road.
About 2 to Crothersville.
Yeah.
I think
It's a
this
great
one has
location.
The heavy
If you got
manufacturing.
either access, you can go in
It's
town, or you
different.
go to interstate, you go to Crothersville either way.
Yeah.
Or not
Yes.
Crothersville, but that.
Yeah, it's-
all the
it's-
before there.
It's ideal, no question. I mean, this is huge. I mean, I don't think in the history of redevelopment, Scott County Redevelopment Board, has anybody ever looked at this kind of movement for Scott County, and this could be a real shot in the arm, not only for the county but for Austin.
You know, the two go hand in hand. The growth goes hand in hand with residential. Austin is working a residential project just as Scottsburg is working a residential project. And Jill and I have talked about this several times. You don't end up with the jobs without the houses. So, you know, you all looking at bringing the industry, bringing the jobs, bringing the tax increment while the communities, the cities are bringing housing in. It's that perfect marriage of everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's huge, no question.
We keep saying it's coming and it's growing, but I mean, they'll announce Monday night, there is a local manufacturer that is announcing expansion Monday at City Council. So, I mean, even the locals are expanding. So,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
yeah.
So we had someone on another piece of property that a year and a half ago we had shared, hey, we got 55, 56 acres, and they just went dormant on us, and out of the blue, they have called wanting to acquire 50 plus acres for light industrial is what they're looking for. But where things have been in this weird slow period of something's eventually going to come, it's happening just like Jill said. You're seeing things move right now.
And I think we all agreed at the end of last year that I think we all want our money that we have right now to be spent on things like this to get more money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is.
Things that we
I
can
think
create
this is
TIF
important.
districts or
This is
expand
important.
TIF districts is what we're trying to do. So there's a return on that capital we spend.
This is
Versus,
huge.
not that these other things are bad, by the way.
No,
I mean,
absolutely not, but it is redevelopment.
To consider, you know, just what is happening in some other communities where they're going and building a speculative building. What they're doing is they're working off of a 3-year interest only, to where the redevelopment commission spurs it. They go out, make the investment, but they do a loan or a finance over a 3-year period where all they're doing is paying interest for those first 3 years, with the intent that in a 3-year period they're going to sell that thing. You take a 6-month period for construction, and then in the next 2.5, the anticipation that it sells and it hits the tax roll and starts, you basically sell it, pay off whatever debt you had, but you were using those 3 years of interest only to get you there. So those are the things we're going to bring you some estimates on. We're going to bring you kind of a schedule and a process, all with time for you all to consider while we're still responding to other RFPs out there.
Yeah, so is that a little bit more of the build, operate, transfer techniques and?
Yes, so
I know there's a lot of creative ways to do this, by the way.
the BOT, the build, operate, transfer through Indiana Code 5-23 is the process that has been used in a number of communities for them to do that. So you bring on an organization that will finance it, they'll manage the construction, they'll own it during the construction period, then they transfer that back to you with the building, but they're carrying the debt for you, asking you to pay the interest on it for that 3-year period until it sells. Yeah.
Yeah.
That way you're not, if it's a $5.5 or a $6 million project, you're not out there laying out $6 million right now. You're laying out whatever the interest is on it for that 3-year period.
Yeah, there's a lot of creative ways out there that we can, Scott obviously knows that from the state side, and we would have never got the bridge up down on the east end without a lot of these creative ways. And so, you know, we certainly, you know, there's a lot of value in exploring some of these techniques, you know.
The big rectangle is very promising. Not that these others aren't, but we're going to put together a budget for you all at what it looks like if we need to get rid of a wetland or a stream, what the mitigation costs look like, how we can work that into a project if we do a speculative. But if you're gonna sell it and you're incentivizing someone to come in, you know, they're gonna want to figure out how to get rid of those things so they're not conflict. So the more that we have prepped and ready for it, the quicker we can be responsive.
We did ask our consultant on this particular site plan, if we removed this whole wetland, it was just over $100,000. Okay, just to give you an idea.
Yeah.
Cost of development there.
Yeah, yeah.
Something you would very easily recoup in the
Oh,
tax
yeah.
increment.
Oh, yeah.
After you get through any abatements or other items you do. So, I know we hit you all with a lot of information today. But I think in the last 2 months, you know, Scott has really secured good data on this, and we're able to keep progressing. And I think we want to give you all updates every other month or whatever works for you guys, but bringing valuable information, number of responses we've done, any interest we've received in those things. Make sure you get a copy of the real estate sheets. And we're going to start generating some of these concept plans so that it gives someone a visual of what can be there.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah.
And over the next couple of months, we're also going to start meeting with some commercial real estate agents that we're interacting with, some of these people who are coming and reaching out. One of the values is us being in Charlestown, right across from River Ridge. We're interacting with them pretty much every day. And we're just telling them we're full in Charlestown. So here's opportunity. Come up here, look at this, the land, you've got utility, you've got land, you've got community that wants it. Let's go check this out. So we're bringing them up here, bringing the opportunities with them.
Which, by the way, is 100%, or you all wouldn't be invested here as well. So,
No, I agree.
Yeah.
We're going to see, I think we're going to see some pretty significant growth opportunities in Scott County over the next 10 years.
yeah.
Both housing and industry, and it's evident with what's going on in Scottsburg right now,
Yeah.
and Austin with housing and other things.
I know we talked about this a little bit here, and then ran this past you a little bit the other day, but I did talk to the folks that farm that property, and they're really just saying, hey, you know, whatever we do, we'd probably need to know sometime early March. So I just talked to him again today, and we said that we would be back in touch with him, or vice versa in March. He said he'd call, so probably wouldn't have to make a decision at that point, you know, in the direction of their farming goes. But if they certainly do that, and they do understand that there could be some risk as well.
So I would look at the bigger piece, the bigger chunk, and say, if you have a bigger chunk coming in, that's a 600,000 square foot building or bigger. Likely, any engineer that's going to do something on that is going to spend 4 to 6 months going through design, going through approvals. That's after they make an offer on the land. So the big piece, I would say, is a longer duration, and I wouldn't have any hesitation on the bigger piece. The only consideration I would give is if you ask them to maybe hold on something like this, if you all are going to consider a project, because you could get that under construction this year if you wanted to do something.
Do they pay this board to farm it?
They do.
Do we know what it brings
I'm thinking
It's like,
it was 3 to 5,000.
a year?
Yes.
yeah. It's, and I want to say it's not a lot. I'm guessing it's like $100 an acre.
I don't know how many acres.
I mean,
and I don't know what's farmable. I don't know how many acres are farmable.
but they do pay. I don't know exactly what that number is today, but
I would say we could narrow it down to an area that we think could have potential impact, and then you all have that discussion with them. Is, do we reserve this piece if you all have serious interest in moving forward
yeah.
with kind of a project?
Okay. And we've got a couple months. According to those guys, they're like, hey, we wouldn't need to get out there at least and need to know something by March anyway. So it gives us a little bit of time to.
Would the board be okay if I did set up a meeting that included Greg to bring in one of the partners that does this across the state on the speculative building, just to share with him kind of the overview of what this process is, and then after that we bring that process to the board to do. If in the next month, if we set up a meeting, we're open to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. There's no fee or anything.
No fee. This is somebody who's
Just saying, hey,
here's the process he's
Yeah.
done in Newcastle. Here's the process he's done in Southwest Indiana,
Sure.
just to show kind of the similarities, so you get to see it and hear it.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be fine, and then we can bring it back here to give a presentation. Yeah, I mean, this is great. And anything else with some of the deliverables here that you may have been a red flag, or any area of concern, other than the wetlands?
Yeah, really, that is the only issue that we really have to work around. It's somewhat challenging in terms of how you lay out the site. You got a wetland here, you got a stream there. Okay, well, what fits in between, and do we have enough parking? You know, those kinds of things. That's the biggest challenge to really this site. There were more jurisdictional features than I expected, but I didn't know the property very well to begin with, so, but there's still a sizable number of developable acres here that are ripe for industrial projects.
Well, and I appreciate the fact that you guys have looked and trying to avoid that. And you know, in my world, it's just like, how do we get around that? You know, because that's time and money, and there's a little bit longer process. So I appreciate you guys going out of your way to try to figure out how we can get around that, and then also understanding that we could mitigate some of these areas if need be. But
Greg, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
At one point, I mean, it feels like we went ahead, I say hit a home run by getting a 400,000 square foot stamping plant, let's say, in that back part of the property. But let's say that that doesn't happen, and we get three 25,000 square foot interests, 3 different companies, but you've got on here project or injection molding, 2 acres, 13,000 square feet.
Yeah.
I mean, do we, at what point do we say, okay, guys, we need to build this out, and we do want that big home run, but if we don't, we'll take 5 of these? I mean, is that, are you guys thinking about that risk-wise? I mean, is that something we need to be thinking about?
Those are the scenarios that we'll explore. So, for
Okay.
example, if you look at the bigger site, you know, we know we've got probably one facility here, one here, but then back here, hey, it could be one mega site,
Sure.
or we could bring just Industrial Parkway out here and bring it down and connect to this county road down here and have 2 or 3 sites here and 2 or 3 sites over here. And now you're into some smaller facilities.
Sure.
But I think we would conceptualize all of that and look at that and say, okay, based on the inquiries that we're getting, where's the industrial market taking us? Are there these big, large, mega facilities looking for 50 acres or more? Yeah, there are some. There are a few. There are more looking for 20-acre sites.
Right.
There are a lot more of those guys. So we'll look at that and evaluate that, bring that to you, ask for your opinions, you know, talk to some other folks and see where we need to go. But nothing gets cemented and, you know, nothing's in stone until we say this is going to be the plan.
Okay.
Right.
You know, and if one of the projects gets narrowed down and they come back and they say, hey, look, we need XYZ dollars for economic impact to make this happen, you all are going to sit down and you're going to say, all right, what kind of good paying jobs? Are they above county average wage? Are they higher than county average wage? Are they
Skilled labor, what do we?
Yeah, what's the tax impact that's going to happen? What's the assessed value coming in from their real property? You know, what are those things? And you'll have an economic company or one SI or someone look at that on your behalf and say, here's what we think we're going to capture over a 20-year period for evaluation.
Yeah, I guess we also need to look at the vibe. I mean, there's a bunch of variables here, because I'm thinking in my head, you get a company that wants a 100,000 square foot facility, and they've got a contract with Boeing to make airplane wings for X amount of years. Then what happens after that? Are we on the hook? Do they pick up stake and move? We've got a building, but nobody's in there. But wait, we've already spec'd it for your specific need, and then these are all questions, right?
Yep.
Not to lose
Fair.
sleep over, but
It's a fair
that's-
question to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just things that'll go into a decision making at some point.
Okay. Hopefully we have that problem.
I will say.
We have that now.
Nearly
Kinda,
all
right?
of the state incentives relative to economic development are performance-based. So the industry or the business has to perform to receive the full complement of benefits.
Okay.
And if they underperform, they don't get it all.
Gotcha.
Okay? So we see that frequently where we promised you 100 jobs. Well, we only got 50. Well, then you don't get all this other stuff that was part of the package.
So there's a motivation to make sure
Yes.
they win,
That's
even
right.
if they have to pull from some other state, so.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all positive right now. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
everything
Yeah,
feels
yeah.
very good.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sorry about all the questions.
No.
No, it's all good. Fair, very fair question.
Yeah, and thanks, you guys were very diligent on getting these deliverables met with the survey and geotech and wetlands and everything we signed up for here, you guys have come through on.
If you could just hurry up and get somebody in.
That's right.
One of the more odd inquiries that we had was 1,000 acres. Somebody wanted 1,000 acres for a rocket manufacturing plant, literally building rockets.
What kind of rockets?
Don't know.
Military?
We assumed military. They didn't give us that level of detail, but it said
Elon.
rocket manufacturing, and they wanted 1,000 acres. And I was like, man, you don't find 1,000 contiguous acres on every street corner, right?
No.
Usually what we
So-
get is you got so many acres for a turkey or chicken farm. So
Yeah, right.
Hey, it's interesting. You're driving down 65 to Florida, and you look over to the left, and there's this massive Saturn plant in the middle of a cornfield somewhere. I mean, that thing's
Yeah.
2 million square feet something. It's crazy how
Right.
big it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Ford battery plant down south of Elizabethtown is sitting on 1,500 acres.
1,500 acres.
Just,
River Ridge is 6,000 acres,
yeah.
to put in perspective.
Is that completely
Massive.
developed? Okay.
No, but they're not allowing distribution, logistics right
Getting a
now.
little more stuff.
they're picky now, right?
Yeah,
they've
They
got-
can be.
They went.
They can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how
That's
we get
interesting.
there.
And honestly, they're being very supportive of sites that they know we have here in Scott County, and they're encouraging, hey, look, that doesn't work for us, but why don't you go look there? So they are being supportive of Scott County.
Because it helps the community.
It helps everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Southern Indiana. Okay.
Good stuff.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you guys very much.
Before you leave, did you happen to have the invoice that they submitted last time? I did call Josh about that. We had an invoice, and I said I would follow up with him, and since he was here, we could just kind of explain that invoice.
You'll see.
The first bill was, I want to say about $2,300, $2,350. And it was 10% of the just land development and management
Project
fee.
management work, yeah.
And so I submitted at the end of November, beginning of December, just the first bill so we could get in process, get through all the things we need to do with submitting paperwork. You'll get a bill here in the next couple of days that covers the survey, covers title search, covers wetland, geotech, and those are all our sub-consultants that have done things. So you'll start seeing a bill once a month for things we've done to date.
Okay.
Do you want me to go see if I can look that up real quick, the invoice?
We're
Well,
approving it, correct? I mean, we held it last time, is what the.
we did hold it.
Is there a question, Greg, about it?
Well, we were just questioning the services on it. That's why we didn't vote on paying it, because we were, it was a little bit vague, just to be honest with you. So I didn't feel like I could explain it well enough to the board.
So the first one, and you'll see each month, we're gonna submit based on the contract that we provided. And the contract we provided has each of the items line itemed at the bottom. But if the invoice wasn't clear, I'll make sure we make the invoice clear.
Is it a draw type thing? So this is the total amount and we're gonna take 10, 10, 10. And we're gonna try to,
So that's the land development piece, which was, I want to say it was like $23,000 or something. We were going to do it 10% per month, but
Sure.
all the others were just geotech is X dollars,
Gotcha.
wetland is X dollars, and so the
clearly
invoice-
you've accomplished these items, so we just, if they're on the invoice, we would
Yeah.
approve them.
Yeah. But if it may not have been clear, and if it wasn't, I'll clarify that.
Do you have, are you submitting copies of reports to somebody when we get these things, like the wetland stream report?
You'll get the full copy. Maybe we'll get.
Yeah,
all
I'm happy to send you the full.
I would love to
Package.
see that, just so we're doing our job to
Sure.
say, not that we don't trust you or
No,
anything.
I didn't want to drop, 50 pages of paper on you
Thank
guys
you.
in your meeting.
I appreciate that.
But we're happy to send it
Yeah.
We
on.
will also.
Here's the survey.
Yeah,
right.
Here's the
Well, it just
geotech.
gives us
yeah.
the confidence that we're, we see
Sure.
it done.
We'll also give that to Chris Wakeman, so he has a copy.
Oh, thank you.
All of that as well digitally. So if someone inquires on your all's behalf with him, he's got it to distribute as well.
Great.
Well,
One other thing I wanted to share with the board, because I did reach out to Josh the other day. Of course, the board has every intentions of trying to put a TIF over the property that you guys had just acquired. And Josh has been very gracious with that and understands why we would, and
You should.
and we should, right? So, one of the things moving forward with working with Frost Brown Todd to help us with that process is obviously getting a good survey for that property. And so I think Josh has been very gracious to share that survey with us.
Yeah, we've ordered
Has been
survey
ordered.
of that property so that you've got a legal description to use. If you create a TIF, you can use that legal description.
Outstanding. Thank
that's
you.
what we need.
Thank you.
And thank you very much.
Yeah,
by
thank
the
you
way.
very much.
All part of process.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's part of, being good partners with you guys as well. So we certainly appreciate that.
My comment back to Greg was that I think, once we get that thing in process and you all start considering TIF, I think you should sit down and say, all right, what needs to be done in that area? What would a TIF benefit? And what may help incentivize bringing someone who would want to land on 80 or 90 acres there that would benefit growing the TIF? Because the TIF doesn't do any good if you don't have someone in it that's creating increments. So those are just things, I guess, partners, we need to sit down and talk through and what makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. Here's the
So,
question.
yeah, this was overall land development support, which was in the contract, so he attached a copy of the contract here. And what that does is there was a line item of fees in the back. The due diligence support, or the overall land development support. So he was showing
You
he
just
was
taking
billing against pay item number 1,
10%.
which was the overall land development support services.
Okay.
So like the Alta survey, so you'll see this month a bill for the 675. You'll see the title search, which is C. You'll see the geotech and the wetland all come in from those items, but each one of them is just going to be per that, what we provided back
So
at the end of
when
October.
we look at the front of that bill right there, it'll have like, say, C.
Yep, it should, and if it doesn't, I'll make sure it does,
Okay.
but, so that's what that was referencing.
Greg, are you the one that's gonna be reconciling that and making sure?
Yeah, we'll
Or are we doing
check
it as a
this
team,
off.
or-
Yeah, we'll as a group
Okay.
we'll check the services and billings off once they're submitted.
But they should all match. So when Wayne sent the invoice for us, he attached a copy of the contract just so that was clear for whoever was processing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that's
great. Pay that, then?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to ask for a motion to pay the overall land development support services for $2,350.
I'd make a motion to pay it.
John
I'll
make a
second it.
motion. John Collins makes a second. All in favor of paying that?
Aye.
Is aye. So we'll get this submitted and get this paid for you guys, and then
So you'll have another one. We sent a bill earlier this week, so it's probably in mail coming, but it'll be a much larger bill because of everything we've accomplished in the last 2 months.
You never
Is
have
that
been
number,
hurry.
Greg?
Just whenever you
Is
get
that
around.
number?
That's right.
Is it
Just gotta
invoice
eat that
number?
kind of stuff.
we have invoice number 108.
Thank you.
And Johnny, I'm thankful you brought that up, because a lot of times, when I have to pay consultant bills in my job, they'll send me something and I have to go back and add things up. So it's just, it is to our benefit if it's real clear on the front and it spells out those services and got those
Well,
dollars
none
amount.
of us is used to their bill and what it looks like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
honestly, none of us bothered to read the whole thing.
No, it's all good. And that's why we wanted to send the first bill, just to get in Scott County's system, and
Get the process going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you.
it takes time. 20 years of working with municipalities, no issues here.
Yeah. When you're working with municipalities and government, the check's in the mail, right?
That's right.
It's
And
somewhere.
eventually it is.
Yeah, eventually it is.
Being a minute late,
I can get the binder for the meeting.
but if you don't understand what you're paying for, it's hard to vote to pay so much.
Yeah, yeah, so thank you for being a little gracious. Giving us a little grace on paying that, so.
So your all's next meeting, is it, again, it's the second Thursday of February?
We just kind of see how the schedule opens up for everybody and everybody's availability, and we kind of go from there. So we will certainly put a meeting together for next month, so we can, I know we've got a request that was in front of you all.
Well, and as we've got more stuff going on, there's getting to be more need to
Mhm.
properly set meetings.
Yeah,
Thus
anytime.
far, we haven't had that.
That's a good point. Anytime that you guys need us to meet, if we're just a text message away from saying, hey, can everybody make this day or not? So if you guys need us for a special meeting to get together earlier than maybe what we had planned, fine. We'll check everybody's availability and try to make that happen. So,
Sure.
But all good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you very much.
Brandon, are you
Good job.
brother to Joey?
Please,
and
please,
Bobby and
please.
Missy?
Yes, don't hold that against me.
Appreciate you.
So
He's a New Albany.
Missy and I,
Oh, no.
from first grade all the way, the same class.
Are
all
you
the way-
kidding me?
all the
Slate
way.
Run?
Yeah, Slate Run.
I
Yeah.
was slate run.
Okay.
Let's see, 5, 6, because I went from Our Lady to,
Sure.
so you know Missy.
Oh, yeah, very well, very well. Yeah, and Bobby and Joey too, so.
No, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's, hey, great people.
I moved out of Floyd
And your
County.
mother, she's still around?
Yeah, well, yeah.
She's gold.
Yeah,
from-
absolutely.
Yeah,
Talk to her every day.
yeah,
I'll tell you.
yeah,
said-
absolutely. She'll know who I am.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the funny story, Missy went up to watch it. Are we still on recording?
Yes.
Never mind, I'll tell you later.
Sure, sorry for.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Story for all.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Consider the
guys.
minutes.
Yep, we have the minutes tonight.
Yes.
They're on the back
Yeah.
page there.
You have to sign them. I've already read them.
Yeah, I already read them. I moved
Okay,
to
we do have them.
approve them.
John Collins makes a motion.
Second.
Brad Stott seconds. All in favor of approving minutes? Aye.
Aye.
And I think that's it. I'll have a
move to
motion to adjourn. John Collins makes motion, Johnny White seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're done.
All right.